Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hell, they had a pep rally in Cincinnati last night, and today.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight? Everything good? Yeah. How y'all running tonight? Word. Mardok, what up, brother? All right. Yeah. So I want to start the conversation tonight with trade deadline is coming up. It's Thursday. And a lot of times with the trade deadline, it's much to do about nothing, right? On the day of the trade deadline, a lot of the things that were going to happen have already happened. So when you look at this situation, I'm not really excited about Thursday because everything is going to happen before Thursday. For example, what happened today. So New Orleans decides to move on CJ, and they make a trade. And Portland decides to move off of CJ. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, what was this about? I actually like the move for New Orleans. And the reason why I like the move for New Orleans is because, New Orleans is in the play-in tournament right now. If the season ended today, they're the 10th seed. What's up, Spo? They're the 10th seed right now in the playoffs, in the play-in tournament. They're a half a game in front of Portland. Now, the smart money goes, why would Portland help them? Well, the reason why Portland would help them is because Portland is going to start over. They starting over, number one, with moving Norm Powell and Covington. And they did that to free up some money. Because what they're going to do is they're going to put their name in the free agency hat this summer. Right? They're going to put their name in the free agency hat this summer. They're going to have excuse me. They're going to have close to $60 million. They're going to be close to $60 million under the cap. So in the process of them being $60 million under the cap, they figuring, well, we got a lot of money. We're going to go out and we're going to try to go get some guys, right? Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is just because you got a lot of money, I don't care what market it is. Just because you got a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to bring guys in. That's not going to happen. Ask the Knicks. New York is been tabbed as the mecca of basketball. I think they were $45 million over the cap 2 summers ago, and they landed Julius Randle. That's what they ended up bagging. So just because you got a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna bag some quality free agents. All right. So with that being said, the question that needs to be answered here, them moving Norman Powell, them moving Covington, and now them moving CJ. It's obvious that they're starting over. The question that needs to be answered is Dame going to say, I trust this process? Now, before you answer that question, mind you, we're talking about a Damian Lillard who is 31 years old, and I think he's in the middle of his prime. I think he's got 3-4 more good years left in him before he starts to slow down. He hasn't had any major injuries, which means that he's durable. So the question that needs to be answered is, you look at this Portland situation, is he going to say, I trust what you guys are doing. I'm going to hang around? Because I think that you guys are going to bag somebody in free agency. We're probably not going to make the playoffs, which I thought that was the case this year. I didn't think that they were going to make the playoffs. But with that being said, Is he comfortable in saying, I trust what you guys are doing here. I don't want to go anywhere. I just signed an extension. I don't want to leave. I want to stay right here and I want to see what you guys are going to do. As opposed to, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to be a part of a rebuild, which let's make sure we're 100% clear. This is absolutely a rebuild. It was an upgrade. It could have been an upgrade 3 years ago, but instead of being an upgrade, it turned into a rebuild. Well, what do you mean, OG? It turned into a rebuild. 3 years ago, when they were in the Western Conference Finals, they ended up getting swept. However, it's obvious that we are a contender. We might not be close to winning it, but we are a contender. So with that being said, how about we upgrade this roster? We obviously are making noise in the West. We made it to the West Finals. We got a premier player in Dame. We got one of the best backcourts in the game, right? The Euro, Nurkic is one of the premier players in the game, right? So with that being said, let's upgrade this roster, which is it's exactly that, an upgrade. Let's see if we can do that. As opposed to, we're not going to do that. We're going to bring back the same unit that we had last year. Not only are we going to bring back the same unit, we're going to make a small change the next year. Like we're going to bring in Norman Powell. Like we're not going to do anything major. That's all we're going to do. And now instead of it being an upgrade, now we have a complete rebuild. We got to tear this whole thing down. Because not only are we not contenders anymore, we're not even a playoff team. So the question that needs to be answered with Dame is, well, Dame, do you trust what's going on here? And are you down to stick around to see this thing through? Or do you not want anything to do with this? That's first of all. Then the next idea is with what Sacramento is doing, right? So Sacramento, a group that I look at where Sacramento has fumbled the bag, fumbled the ball so many different times. I can't tell you how many times Sacramento has absolutely fumbled the bag. I can go on about every pick that they made, right? Everything that they've done. But the one thing that they screwed up more than anything was passing on Luka. Passing on Luka because Vlade Divac apparently had a problem with Luka's father. That, sir, is a fireable offense. And it ultimately led to his demise because we saw what happened to Luka, right? For Barnes, not Harrison Barnes. Not Harrison Barnes. But I'm looking at this Sacramento group, and we're gonna keep Fox, but we're gonna move on Sabonis. And I actually like Sabonis and Fox together, right? Especially with Holmes in the middle, because now you legit have some meat in the middle, right? Now you have some meat in the middle, and and Sacramento isn't that far out. They're behind Portland. I think they're 2 games behind Portland and 2.5 games behind New Orleans. So they actually have a shot to get into the play-in tournament. The thing that I don't like is at the expense of Davion Mitchell, because I'm trying to figure out what we can do to make sure that he's in the rotation regularly. Because I just don't like him in Sacramento. But I think this deal works for Sacramento. I think this deal, I understand that Sacramento fans are completely fed up with what's going on here. But you still have a young guy in Fox. You still have a young guy in Sabonis. So with having these 2 guys, Bagley is who I'm thinking about. You still have a young guy in Sabonis. You still have a young guy in Fox, right? Moving off of Halliburton, the reason why I don't have a problem with it is because you're going to free up some money, just like Portland is. Bagley comes off your books at the end of the season. All right? So that Rook deal is done. With all of that being said, you can build it around Fox and Sabonis. These 2 young guys are the core of your unit. And Davion Mitchell, who I don't know how long he's going to be with your group, but he can definitely attract some interest if you want to move off of him, which I would love for you to do that. I would absolutely love for you to move off of him, but you won't because that's not you. I think this deal works for Indiana, because like I told you, they already moved Karis LeVert. They moved Sabonis. Just so you know, they're not done. They're not done. They've already made it clear. They said this a month ago. We're having a fire sale. And when you have a fire sale, more than likely, if you show up to that fire sale, you could get things that are normally this much for 80 cents on the dollar, for pennies on the dollar, but 80% off, 90% off. So they're essentially Indiana is they're looking to open up money, and they're looking for draft picks, because just like Portland, just like Sacramento, these cities are not desirable. They're not Miami. It's not Los Angeles. It's not Phoenix. So we got to build it. We got to build it through the draft. I do not think that Indiana is done. I think that they're going to get a phone call. And the Golden State Warriors are going to ask for Miles Turner, and they're going to offer up the rook. He's not a rookie anymore, but they're going to offer up Wiseman. That's what I'm thinking. And I don't think that Indiana says no. So with that being said, that's my rant on what happened today with trades. I don't think Indiana's done. I understand what Portland is trying to do. They open up some money because I think that they're going to make a run in free agency. It's going to be very difficult to bag somebody because it's Portland, and who wants to go up there? And Sacramento, they're going to build it around the kid Fox, and they're going to build it around Sabonis. These are the guys that we're going with. That's who we starting over with. So that's my rant to start. So I don't think that they're done. I don't think that Indiana's done. If you look at what New Orleans has done, so with them having CJ, moving off of Josh Hart, I don't think that Josh Hart is a better player than Norman Powell. So, like I said, I understand why they did what they did. Moving off of Josh Hart, that was again moving off Norman Powell. That was to open up some money. But with that all being said, right? With that all being said, I actually like New Orleans roster. If Zion could get healthy and he could give them some productivity, they can make some noise in the West. They already in the play-in tournament with Valanciunas, with Brandon Ingram. Now you add CJ, who is damaged goods. I was very concerned about. I mean, he had a collapsed lung. I'm not even talking about his contract, which over the next 2 years, he on the books for $68 million. 33 next year and 35 the year after that. Right? So them moving on him, they think that they can actually make the playoffs. Moving on him. I think he's damaged goods, but he has, before this whole ordeal, I mean, he was 20 a game, shooting 40% on the long ball. So it's obvious that he can go. It's not a question of whether or not he can go, because it's obvious that he can go. So, So that's what's up, my man. This is cranberry juice and water. That's what I'm always drinking. You know what time it is. So it's interesting that you mentioned the Brooklyn Nets. Right? It's very interesting that you mentioned the Brooklyn Nets, because, I mean, the Nets are going to make the playoffs. I think that they're going to make the play. They're going to get KD back. They'll probably get KD back. If he's not back the end of this month, he'll be back in the beginning of next month. And I do think that they'll make a push to make the playoffs. But with that being said, I said, what did I say to you guys? For the people in the cheap seats and the people at home, can you reiterate what I said to you? Can you repeat what I said to you 2 months ago about Brooklyn? What did I think of Brooklyn? So I'm clear. One more time for the people in the cheap seats, Liam. Chris. Well, this is one of those situations. This is one of those situations where you don't like to be right, where you're right and you're like, damn, I really don't want to be right, but I really felt like I was. Well, this is the idea with the Brooklyn Nets. They weren't constructed correctly. This whole notion that, Kevin Durant is hurt and James Harden, he stumbles out of the gate and he's also hurt. Irv is in and out of the lineup. That is not a recipe for success. It just wasn't. It was not. And I'm using the word was not because it's past tense. And I don't think that it's going to work. I just don't. And I still feel that way about the Brooklyn Nets. Still. But back to the trade deadline, I'm big on teams improving what they're doing. I'm big on that, man. I just am. I just absolutely am. And I think New Orleans improved their lineup. I'm not biased. Actually, you are the epitome of the subjective biased fan. So do not lump me in with those people. You sir are the epitome of the subjective biased fan. You can't see your hand in front of your face. You can't see the forest past the trees because you're so locked in to Brooklyn and you can't see what's wrong with them. You are the epitome of the subjective bias fan. So I can't talk to you about the Nets because when I tell you things that are factual, I don't tell you things that I don't say things about Brooklyn where I'm just hating on them. These are things that are facts. So I won't talk to you. Absolutely. The Lakers, on the other hand, the Lakers have a situation that is a little bit different. So what I want to start with is the notion that dead the whole Russell Westbrook getting traded. Russ is not getting traded. He's on the books for $44 million this year. He's on the books for $47 next year. If it's a straight up trade between him and whomever, that means that a team is going to have to give up a lot to get him. And there is not a team that's interested in giving up that much to get him. They're not. So the situation with Russ this season is they're going to have to manage his minutes. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to manage his minutes and monitor how he's playing to determine whether or not they're going to keep him in the game. Because he's not getting traded. It's going to cost other teams way too much, and they're not willing to give that up. That's first of all. Now, if you look down that bench and you look on that roster, what is desirable for the Nets? Well, not the Nets. I'm sorry. What's desirable for the Lakers? Nothing. To be honest with you, they got a bunch of old guys. And not only do they have a bunch of old guys, they got a bunch of guys who aren't productive. So none's been hurt. Bazemore has been non-productive, right? Ellington has been in and out of the lineup. Monk has been the only consistent guy, right? James has been who James is, and he's not getting traded. Carmelo's not getting traded. Anthony Davis is not getting traded. So who's left? Jordan, who I don't know what you could get for him. You could cut him and free up his money. Dwight Howard, I don't know what you could get for him. Because you can't cut Jordan and Dwight Howard and free up some money. That's not going to work. So THT, well, his stock has dropped tremendously from what it was last year. So if you were to move THT, you moving THT for, I think that you'll be very pressed to get a 1 if you move THT. And I don't think the Lakers are concerned with that. I think that they're concerned with upgrading their roster. And when I look at what their roster, and when I look up what their roster is, it's going to be difficult to upgrade it just with what they have. They're going to have to open up some roster spaces. And the only way to do that is to cut some guys and eat some money. But with that being said, who is available? They may be stuck with what they have. It's going to be difficult for them. They may be stuck for what they have. They may be stuck for what they have. So that's that's really interesting with the Lakers, because I mean, I know the trade deadline is in 2 days, but I just don't see. I'm just trying to figure out how they improve that roster. And the only way I'm thinking is by moving off of some guys, by basically just ripping up some contracts and just eating them. That's the only way this works. So and if you're going to use that logic, King, you better use that logic for your boy too, because KD wanted Irv. And both of them lobbied for James Harden. Not just one of them, both of them lobbied for James Harden. So if you're going to say that about James, you better say that about your boys too. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about you being the subjective, biased fan. You are the epitome of that. I'll tell you what, Jackson. If Bronny ends up in Cleveland, absolutely, I could see him going back there. I could see him doing it. How is Kyrie comparable to Russ? Absolutely. You want to talk about it, King? Let's do it. Sure. So, and I'm not going to take up a lot of time with this, but let me ask you a question, King. How has Kyrie been playing? So I'm clear. I'm going to talk to you guys in 1 second. King, how has Kyrie been playing? He's been playing good. That's a fact. How often has he been playing? Part-time. Has that been problematic for you guys? Has it contributed to this 8-game losing streak that you guys have been on? No buts. That's a yes or no question, sir. Has he been problematic, and has this been an issue for you guys in this 8-game losing streak that you have? That's a yes or no question. So with that being said, Russ not being very good and Kyrie being problematic, it's very comparable. Very much so. So with that being said, when I think about what the Lakers have done, I'm having a difficult time with them. I'm having a difficult time seeing what they can do to move on from what they already have. I just am. I'm having a real difficult time with that. So I really like what Toronto is doing. I think that they could get into the mix. I wouldn't be surprised if they called up Indiana and asked for Turner. That wouldn't surprise me at all if they called up and asked for him. So I would watch out for that. That wouldn't bug me out at all. And I wouldn't be. I've already mentioned it. I would not be. I feel real confident that the Warriors would call up. I feel real confident that the Warriors will call up Indiana for the last time and see if they can work out a deal to get Turner because I think he fits well with them. Absolutely. I absolutely feel like he fits with them. No doubt about that. I think that works. Jude, you late. How you want to come in here and tell us what to talk about and you late already? Jude, you late, man. So there are no easy teams, sir. None whatsoever. The trade deadline has always been one of my favorite times of the year, simply because the day of the trade deadline is much to do about nothing. It's always right up until the trade deadline. So, I think that Karis LeVert not getting back with Cleveland because he never played that. I think Karis LeVert getting with Cleveland, I think he gives them the wing scorer that they were looking for. I think that's 16, 17 a game that they were absolutely looking for. I think he comes off the bench initially. And as you guys know, I'm a huge Okoro guy. I dig Okoro. Made the all-rookie team last year. It hasn't worked out as much this year. And the reason why it hasn't worked out as much this year is because they're a big team, and that's primarily how they play. I mean, Darius Garland, he's buckets, but they play a lot of their stuff goes through Kevin Love, Evan Mobley. A lot of their stuff goes downhill and through the big guys and setting up Jared Allen. So with that being said, I look at what Colin Sexton has to offer. I don't think that he fits anymore with that unit because I think that they're becoming a more complete unit. Now, what do you think that they could get for Colin Sexton? What do I think that they could get for Colin Sexton? It depends on who you ask. Who are you calling up and which team that's not necessarily a contender, which young team needs a wing scorer or needs a point guard that can score? Well, you could take San Antonio out of that because they already got their point guard in DeJounte Murray, so they straight there. You could take Toronto out because they straight. I think he works well with the Knicks because I think he's a better version of Kemba. So I think he would work really well with the Knicks. And I think that if you called up the New York Knicks, I think that you could, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers and you called up the New York Knicks and said that Colin Sexton is available, you could get whatever you want. I don't think that Cleveland wants anything from New York, though. That's the difference. I don't think they want anything for him, anything from New York. So I don't think that they'll deal with him. They'll deal with them, right? Brooklyn is another one. I don't think that they'll deal with Brooklyn because I don't think they want anything from Brooklyn. So that leaves Philadelphia, who what would Philadelphia give up to Cleveland for Colin Sexton? Would Maxey and Tobias Harris work? Does that make Philadelphia better? No, I don't know if that makes Philadelphia better. I don't think so. I don't think that makes them better. And not only do I not think that makes them better, I don't think that giving up Maxey and giving up Tobias Harris to Cleveland helps them. I think that that's a bad deal. So Philadelphia is out. So that's essentially in Boston. I think Boston. If I'm Cleveland, what's on that Boston roster that could help me? Because I think that Cleveland already has their core guys. I think that they already got your point guard in Garland, right? You already got your point guard in Garland. You already got your box work in Evan Mobley and your rim protector in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, right? Now what you need, and I think you got your wing scorer in Karis LeVert. The question is what do you have? What do you have on this unit? What does Boston have on that unit to help make you better? And what are they willing to give you? Because they're not coming off of Tatum. I doubt very seriously that they're coming off Jaylen Brown. So what do they have that you might want? Schroeder? Schroeder's contract is up after this season. So with Schroeder's contract coming up after this season, Schroeder's going to want to get paid. Now, you may be able to take on Schroeder, but you're probably going to lose him at the end of the season because you're not going to pay him, right? You're not going to pay him. So I don't know if Boston works. Richardson maybe, because we got to make the money work too. Because Colin Sexton's still on his rookie deal. So you might have to throw somebody else in there. So I don't know if Boston works. So that means the Atlantic Division is out. So that puts us in the Central Division. Well, we've already seen what Indiana has done. They already dealt with the Central Division. Does Colin work in Milwaukee? Will Cleveland give Colin to Milwaukee? Hell no. If I'm Cleveland, I'm not giving Colin Sexton I'm not giving him to Chicago. I'm not giving him to Milwaukee. I'm not giving him to anybody in this division that's going to potentially hurt me. No, I am not. No. So the Central Division is out. So that in the Eastern Conference. So now that leaves the Southeast Division. So we got the Wizards. What does Washington have? What does Washington have that Cleveland may want? Okay, Bradley Beal is out for the rest of the season. He's getting wrist surgery. He's done for the rest of the season. So they're probably going to have I don't think that Washington's making the playoffs. I think that they're going to finish exactly where I thought they were going to finish before the season started. I had them at the bottom of the Atlantic, and I still think that they're going to be at the bottom of the Atlantic. They're going to be right in front of Orlando. I think they're going to be right in front of Orlando and Detroit. They're going to be at the bottom of the Atlantic, just like I thought. So with that being said, right? So with that being said, Washington, what does Washington have? Picks maybe? Because Sexton is still on his rook deal. That might work. Charlotte, what does Charlotte have? Charlotte's got a bunch, but I don't think Charlotte is interested in Colin Sexton. No. Even though that's a wing scorer that LaMelo Ball could play off of, and he could be, I think he would be a better version of Scary Terry, because Scary Terry's contract is coming up at the end of the season. So you may be able to work that out. So that might be an option. Let's see here. Atlanta, Colin and Trey in the backcourt. What would you have to give up to get Colin? What would you have to give up to get Colin Sexton? Because Atlanta's got a bunch of good players. I think they got 6 guys in double figures. So what would they have to give up in order to get him? That's interesting. I don't mind him in Charlotte. I think that in Atlanta. I think he would be good with them because I like him. I like LaMelo Ball playing off of him, being the distributor that he is. Yeah. The thing that I'm concerned with Colin is that he needs the basketball, and that's LaMelo's job. What would Atlanta have to come off of in order to get him? Now, I'm already standing on the notion that Cleveland, we're not giving Colin Sexton to nobody in the division. That includes Milwaukee, that includes Indiana, that includes Chicago, that includes Detroit. No, we ain't giving him to none of those guys. Nope. You know why we're not giving him to none of those guys? Because that's going to come back and bite us later. And we don't want that problem, which is the same reason why I am not 100% okay with Philadelphia handing over Ben Simmons for James Harden. James Harden comes off the books at the end of the season. We don't have to trade for him. He could walk right through the front door for nothing. And we don't have to give up any assets for him. But that's another story. Does Colin Sexton work in Orlando? Well, they suck. So what would they be willing to give up for him? I think that they would be willing to give up whatever you want. So that's the Eastern Conference. So now we got the Western Conference. So we'll start in the Southwest Division. So New Orleans already made their deal, so they're out, right? Even though I think that Sexton, because I think he's better than Devontae Green. I'm actually feeling him on that roster with CJ, but we don't have a distributor, which is what we need. We don't got nobody who can pass. We just got a bunch of dudes who score. And Brandon Ingram and CJ McCullough. Zion, if he gets healthy, Valanciunas. Valanciunas is the dirty work guy, but I'm not really feeling Sexton in New Orleans. So New Orleans is out, right? Memphis is already straight with who they got in their backcourt. They already good. So Memphis is out too. So that leaves the Texas teams. That leaves Dallas. How does he work in that Dallas rotation? And what would they be willing to give up? Would Cleveland give up Hardaway? I'm sorry, not Cleveland. Would Dallas give up Hardaway for Sexton? Well, that doesn't work because Sexton's still on his Rook deal. So we need the money to work. Right? We need the money to work. It's not Devontae Green, it's Graham. My fault. We need the money to work. So, and how does that work with Luka? Because we got a ball dominant guy in Sexton. And Dallas has already made it 100% clear. Brunson is not available. They've already made that clear. So if you're calling up, unless you're calling up Dallas and you offering a superstar, just so you know, Dallas has made it crystal clear. Brunson is not available. So do not inquire about him unless you offering a superstar. He's not available, right? So I don't know if I don't know how well Dallas works. So how about San Antonio? So we've already seen who we're seeing who DeJounte Murray is turning into. So we straight at the point guard spot. Sexton playing the off guard spot. Well, isn't that Lonnie Walker? They building it around Lonnie Walker and they building it around DeJounte Murray. So it looks to me like they set right there with those two guys because Sexton's not coming off the bench. So I think that they're good there. Okay, so San Antonio's out. So Dallas is out. So Dallas is a possibility. San Antonio's out. So now that leaves Houston. Okay, so Houston already got their guy in Green, right? Jalen Green is their guy. The question is who is their lead guard? Because John Wall is out. He hasn't played all season, and they've been trying to trade him, but they haven't found anything that floats their boat. No, it's just not working with them. So with that being said, what is desirable for Houston? They do need a lead guard because I think they got their wing scorer in Jalen Green. I don't know if he's a franchise player, but I do think that I think he's going to be one of the better wing scorers in the game. I do think that. So is Sexton better than Kevin Porter? I'd like to think so. I would absolutely like to think so. Here's the thing, though. Kevin Porter ain't coming back to Cleveland. In fact, he got shipped out of Cleveland because he was problematic. So that's not going to work. All right? So who does that leave? You got New Orleans, Memphis, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. Okay, so that division is done. How about the Mountain Division? So we'll start with Utah. What would Utah give Cleveland for Sexton? Even though I don't like Sexton in Cleveland because they're not giving up. They're not giving up Donnie. Nope. So you can dead that logic. Mike Conley comes off the books after this season. I just don't like him in Utah. I don't like him in Utah at all. And Mike Conley straight. Not only is Mike Conley straight, Mike Conley is as a point guard. I think that Cleveland is already set at the point guard. We may very well, barring any injuries, we may very well have our point guard for the next 10 years. For the next, he's in year 3. For the next 7-8 years, I think we got our point guard. I think we're good. So we're not interested in acquiring any lead guards because we straight right there. We already got our point guard. All right. So Utah, who are they interested? Who could help make this deal happen on Utah? Well, we don't need Clarkson because we already got Karis LeVert. And on top of having Karis LeVert, we got Okoro. So we don't need Clarkson. I think we're good there. Plus, I don't like him in Utah. I don't think that's a good fit with him and Donnie because Donnie needs the ball. And Donnie is a volume scorer. So is Sexton. He's a volume scorer. So, with that being said, I think Utah's out. Now, before I go any further, let me make sure that we clear, guys. Let's make sure that we 100% clear. Sexton is still on his Rook deal. So being on your Rook deal makes him less difficult to move because that money can be moved, as opposed to if he had a balloon contract where he was in year 2 of a $140 million deal and he's in the second year of that deal, of a 5-year deal. That's something completely different, right? So I think Portland is done. So Portland, I don't think they're making any more deals. I think they're finished. I think that they go into free agency because when I look at what they're doing with their roster, I think that they tore it down and they're going to try to rebuild it again in the summer, which is super corny because now you wasted another year for Dame. You wasted a year for Dame. Minnesota. What is Minnesota willing to give Cleveland for Colin Sexton? I don't know if Minnesota is interested in anything that Cleveland has. I don't think they're interested in Colin Sexton. I think they straight with D'Angelo Russell. I think they straight with Edwards. I think they good in their backcourt. I doubt very seriously that they would hand over Russell for Sexton. So I think that they're out. All right. So Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is building their unit through the draft. They're building their unit. They got six. Yeah, from 2022 to 2027. I'm sorry, 2020. Yeah, 2027. They got 11 ones over the next 6 years. 11 of them. Just make sure that we clear. They got 11 ones over the next 6 years. Now, if Cleveland called them up and said, I know you need another wing scorer. I know how Josh Giddey plays the small forward, and Shea is a distributor in addition to a lead guard. How about you hand over 2 of those ones, and I'll give you Sexton? How you feel about that? Well, that's something that we might be able to talk about. That's something that we might be able to talk about. All right, so that's Oklahoma City. We already talked about Minnesota. We already talked about Portland. That leaves Denver. They're going to get Murray back before the trip. They're going to get Murray back after the All-Star break, right? So what does Denver have for Colin Sexton? Morris, Will the Thrill Barton. Does that help Cleveland? I don't know. I can't say with 100% certainty that it does. Definitely not MPJ because he just signed that $200 million extension and nobody is touching that money. Absolutely not. No way. Absolutely not. Is anybody touching that money? No. So we've already gone through the Mountain West Division. So now we'll move to the Pacific Division. I think Sacramento straight with Fox and Davion Mitchell. I think they're good, right? I think that they're good. So with that being said, I think Sac is out on Sexton. So that leaves the Warriors. I think they're good too. We don't need him. Nope. I think we're good with what we got. So let's move a little further south. How about the Clips? Well, they already made that big deal with Portland, and they did that to get that money off of their books. Right? They did that to get Bledsoe's contract off their books. And in the process of getting that contract off their books, they just brought in Norman Powell, who just signed an extension. And you're going to get Leonard back, and you're going to get Paul George back next year. And Sexton is going to be in a contract year next year. So does the Clippers work? And what do you have? And what would you be willing to give up for Sexton? Because I'm thinking long term here. I'm not thinking just right now. I'm thinking after next year. How much longer are you going to hold on to Sexton? Because it's not like he has an expiring contract, because he does not. All right, so what could the Lakers give Cleveland for Sexton? What would Cleveland accept for Sexton, who's still on a rook deal? Now, what I'm doing is I'm playing it up as a rook deal, right? I'm playing it up as a rook deal. But what I failed to mention was that he is 25 a game. And in your estimation, how many guards, not players, how many guards are averaging 25 a game in the NBA? As of right now, how many guards are averaging 25 a game in the NBA? Zach LaVine's averaging 25. DeRozan averaging 25. Trae Young is averaging 25. Curry is not averaging 25 a game. No, he is not. Have you seen Curry lately, my man? Have you seen what Steph Curry has been doing lately? Over the last month? Almost 2 months? Have you seen Curry? Mitchell is averaging 25. I don't think Book is averaging 25. So I'm taking Phoenix off the table because they're not interested. And I'm taking the Warriors off the table. So I'm interested. Mm-hmm. Book averaging 25. 3. Nice. Have you seen Curry lately? Yeah, that 25-5, that definitely dropped from that 25-5. What was that? Wasn't that 25-5 like 29 at one point? Yeah, it's definitely dropped to 25-5. Yeah. So Curry, Book, Mitchell. Is Ja averaging 25? I think Ja's averaging 25. I know he leads Memphis in scoring. I don't know if he's averaging 25 a game, but I know I know he's leading Memphis in scoring. I know that for a fact. So that's what's that? 5 guys? And Sexton, that's averaging 25 a game. Sexton's 24 a game. So that's pretty incredible, man. Pretty incredible. So I expect them to move off of him. I do. I absolutely expect them to move off of him. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. Steph Curry, 24 a game. He was at 29 at one point, which I'm not surprised about. Not even a little bit surprised about Steph Curry averaging 24 a game because that's about what Curry was averaging in year 5. And I've said this to you guys countless times, more than once, more than twice, more than once, more than twice. If you go back and check the guy's history, especially the better players in the NBA, the elite players in the NBA. By year 5, and put year 5, match up year 5 with what their career average is. And it's right around that. And the reason why I say that is because by year 5, this is probably what you're going to get. You might get some better seasons later on, but for the most part, by year 5, this is what you should expect from this guy. Yeah, this is what you should expect. Good to see you, Liam, my man. I'm actually not digging this Suns Sixers game tonight. And the reason why is because the schedulers had them playing Philadelphia on a back-to-back. We just played Chicago last night. Now we got to be in Philadelphia tonight. Hmm. Yes, sir. Good to see you, Liam, my man. They have to. Well, we just ran down, Lucas. We ran down a bunch of teams who we just ran down a bunch of teams that he could work with and who he couldn't work with. So has your opinion changed? Has your opinion on MVP changed? Is it still Giannis's to lose? Absolutely, it's still Giannis's to lose. Milwaukee is in third place in the East. They're a game out of first place. What is the when you're talking about the league MVP? This is what I want to make sure that we 100% clear on, right? This is the thing that I want to make sure that we 100% clear on. What is the one common denominator with the league MVP? The one thing that you could count on when league MVPs. One more time for the people in the cheap seats, Tristan. Because Big, let's make sure that we clear on this one thing, Big. I can appreciate Joel 29 and 13, just like I can appreciate Joker at 26 and 14. But let me tell you this right now. Your 29 and 13 might not be as valuable as my 28 and 12, and my team is in first place. My 28 and 12 might be more valuable than your 29 and 13. Why? Because my team is winning, which means I'm more valuable to my team's success than you are. Now, I can appreciate that you may even be playing better, right? You may be playing better than me, but understand that league MVP is exactly that. It's the most valuable to his team's success. And one of the most important parts of that is winning. And if you're not winning, so everything that Joker is doing, does it not matter? Oh, it matters. Absolutely it does. But the fact that Denver in sixth place, no. Chris Paul goes ahead of him. And I know you hate to hear that, and you don't want to hear that, but that's a fact. That is an absolute fact. You're talking about a Phoenix team that's had double-digit win streaks this season. They've won 13 of their last 14 games. Chris Paul leads the league in assists, and I think he leads the league in steals too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's going to matter too, Darrell. That's absolutely going to matter. That is absolutely going to matter. The fact that even though you're winning, it's not like it's a wash. The fact that we're winning, but we end up winning the Eastern Conference by 2 games. Because I think it's from 1 to 5 is only separated by 1 game. So that's absolutely going to matter. Absolutely it is. No doubt about it. Sure, that's going to matter. Mm-hmm. Mystic, we already did this, man. The LeBron James thing. No, man. No. I don't have one, to be honest with you, with the defensive player of the year. I don't have one right now. I know Thibault's been in and out of the lineup. I'm digging what Bridges is doing in Phoenix. Caruso was in that conversation before he broke his hand, or let me rephrase that, before Grayson Allen broke his hand. I don't know if Draymond is in that conversation. He's been in and out of the lineup. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see who is going to be the defensive player of the year. I think Jared Allen is going to be in that conversation also. And not only is Jared Allen going to be in that conversation, I also think that Evan Mobley is going to make the all-league defensive team. I do think that. No, I didn't hear that the Nets are purposely keeping James Harden out. They listed it as a hamstring. What's the logic for them purposely keeping him out? Would it be because they're trying to move him? DeMar DeRozan is in the MVP conversation. Absolutely, he is. Chicago's still in first place. Yes, they are. And the problem that we having with DeMar is the fact that Zach LaVine averaging 26 a game too. That's the issue. And when Zach LaVine went out the lineup, they went in the tank. I think they lost 7-10 when Zach LaVine was out the lineup. So that's a problem. Like if they kept rolling, I think that would have been a lot different. So, that means Milwaukee is in second. If Chicago is in third, that means Milwaukee is the number 2 seed. And that means Miami is the number 1 seed. I'm loving what DeMar DeRozan is doing. Absolutely, I do. I'm loving what DeMar DeRozan is doing. I always was a fan of DeMar DeRozan, and he caught a lot of heat. And he caught some heat from me. And the reason why he caught some heat from me simply because how he responded whenever he had to see the boogeyman. He didn't respond this way with anybody else. He held his own whenever he played against anybody else. I don't know what it was about James, but whenever he saw James, it was like seeing the boogeyman. And he just went to pieces. And I couldn't explain it. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. It just doesn't. I don't. He actually was doing work in Toronto. He wasn't doing what he's doing in Chicago, but he was doing work in Toronto. He just ran into James, man. That's the problem that we having. So, how do I feel about a John Wall for Westbrook swap? What are the Lakers gain with John Wall? How does he help them? What does he give them that they don't already have with Westbrook? What does he give them that's different than what Westbrook gives them? Better at defense. Better finisher. I completely disagree with that, but okay. He can hardly stay on the court, but he had better finisher than Russell Westbrook. I don't think so. The kid that played, I know a lot of people talk about the kid that plays in Auburn at Auburn. I don't think he's ready, but he might be wasting his time in school. He might be. I don't know. I think that we may have something with him in the NBA. Though. Well, they already have their lead guard. That's tough. The Pistons already have their lead guard in Cade. And I think that they got a solid long ball shooter in Sadiq Bey. I don't think that Jeremy Grant, I don't think that's working. So, and I also think that you got your dirty work guy. I think you got dirty work guys. The problem is that these guys are young, right? This is a young group. And with it being such a young group, you got your dirty work guys, and you got your dirty work guy in, what's the kid's name? He got into a fight with James. I forgot his name. You got your dirty work guy in him. Not only do you have your dirty work guy in him, you got your lead guard. They still some pieces away. Isaac Stewart, that's him, right? They still some pieces away because I don't know if Sadiq Bey is a premier two guard because the Eastern Conference is getting so much better. I still think that a wing would help these guys. I think that Cade Cunningham is looking to be more of a distributor and I think he's looking to be more of a distributor than a scorer. Right? He could score the basketball, but I think he's looking to be more of a distributor than a scorer. So, with that being said, I look at that group and they got a lot of work to do. They still need I still think that they need another wing. I still think that they need a legit big to build around him and to keep them rolling. And it's going to be a task in Detroit. And Detroit is very much in that. They're very much in that same category with teams like Oklahoma City, with New Orleans, where nobody's coming to Detroit. So we got to build it through the draft. And when you're building it through the draft, you have to get it right. You can't whiff, especially when you have high draft picks. When I got a top 5 pick, we got to get it right. We have to get it right. No doubt. What's my opinion on RJ? My opinion changes with RJ because on the one hand, he came into the game and he's improved every year. And I expected a lot more from him this season than I had gotten early. And I would love to see the Knicks move off of Julius Randle. Let me rephrase that. I would love to see the Knicks build around RJ. That's what I would love to see. He's been inconsistent, but I would love to see them build around him a little bit more. Yes, he does. Cade is the lead guard. Mm-hmm. All right, Darrell, good to see you, brother. Study hard. You know where to find me at. Mm-hmm. What do I think of Baker Mayfield? I don't think much of him, to be honest with you. I got sucked into the Baker Mayfield hype because they made the playoffs last year, and that was a mistake on my part. That was absolutely a mistake on my part. And I apologize for that. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I do not, Tristan. No, I do not have a favorite NBA team. Nope. That is correct. No, because I don't know if RJ works with Embiid, but nice job, Mag. I was very much the struggler, and I struggled a lot in algebra. I worked my tail off to get a C plus, and let me tell you, I worked really hard to get that C plus. No, I don't, Big. Mm-mm. Julius Randle is a guy who we know. It's not that I don't think he can. It's not that I don't think he can keep playing great. I just don't want to overvalue him and overrate him. Julius Randle is a B player who had an A year. He's 19-10, but we're not winning it with him. Not even winning it with him. We're not making a playoff run with him as your guy. That's not happening. So it depends on who you put around him or who you put him around. So yeah, we already talked about it all. Yes, we did. Well, they had to, Lucas, because what other options did they have? They basically were giving money away and nobody would take it. That's how they got Julius Randle. Nobody wanted to come to New York. Kevin Durant said no. All the big time free agents said no. Nope, we good. All of them said no. So With that being said, he is a B player who had an A year. Yep. Well, the reason why Anthony Davis looking dangerous lately because he heard all the criticism and he heard all the chatter about how his game is whack, which isn't true, but he heard all of that. And it started with Joel Embiid coming out and playing the way he played against Joel Embiid when he got back in the lineup. So you saw what it was after that, and he's been looking really good lately. The only issue that I have and have had with with Anthony Davis over the last however long is his ability to hold up. If he can hold up, none of that stuff matters. None of that stuff matters. Yes, sir. Hang on for a second. Yeah, I'm going to stay up for that Lakers Bucks game. I'm absolutely going to stay up for that. Yes, sir, I am. So that's what's going on. Who's the hardest player I ever had to guard? This is cranberry juice, by the way. Adrian Griffin. He was a nightmare to deal with. Left-handed. I have a difficult time. I had a difficult time playing against left-handed players. I don't know why, but I had a difficult time with left-handed players. Between the leg drills, behind the back drills. These are drills to get your ball handling better, where you take the ball and just get a feel for the ball. That would make you that would make your ball handling better, a lot better. Good to see you, Spo. Long time ago in the 90s, a guy named Adrian Griffin went to Seton Hall, played in the NBA for a lot of years. Yes, that's him. Mm-hmm. Who are my title favorites? I still stand on it, my man. I still think that the NBA championship goes through Milwaukee. I still think that it goes through Milwaukee. I think that Memphis can be this year's Atlanta, where they make a run and they become a nightmare matchup. I don't think that they got enough to get out the West. I think that I think Phoenix is the most complete team out West, and I think that we're going to see a rematch. I think we're going to see a rematch in the finals. Mm-hmm. That kid from Auburn, you asked me about him. That kid from Auburn looks like he's the most ready. Him or that big kid from Duke looks like he's the most ready. In terms of big time players, I'm sure that there's a guy that's playing mid-major Division I basketball that I don't know about who is super nice and is pro ready right now. And he could very well be better than all of these dudes, but nobody's paying attention to him. Yeah, I think that the Suns see the dubs. The Suns could very well. I can't say with 100% certainty that the Suns we'll see the Dubs in the West Finals, but that's what it's looking like. And I think that if they did, I think the Suns beat them in 6 games. I do. Barring any health issues, I think the Suns beat them in 6 games. Mm-hmm. Whether I think that the Blazers should move off Dame doesn't matter, because you guys are going to be so relentless in your quest to get Dame out of Portland, even though you have no idea what is a good fit for him. You just want him out of Portland because you don't want him wasting away up there, which I can get with that logic. And there's going to be so much pressure on the Trailblazers that they're going to have to move him, because you guys are going to put so much heat on them. They're going to have to move him. They're going to have to. There's going to be no choice. Smoothest play I've seen in my lifetime? Allen Houston, man. He had a milk jump shot. It just looked effortless. He was just so smooth with it. Super smooth. Yeah. Super duper. So, yep, it's about that time. So, all right, guys. It's about that time. I will be back on tomorrow night, and we will do it again. Trade deadline is Thursday, so hopefully we got some more information by tomorrow. I'm sure that we're going to have some more discussion about the MVP talk, and we'll probably talk about what I saw tonight with Milwaukee and the Lakers, Phoenix and Philadelphia. So we'll definitely get back into that. But until then, take it light, but take it.